Hello and welcome back to the show. So we've got everyone together in the studio now, and we're going to talk about our favorite Spider-Man and Spider-Man movie. So yes, this is in relation to the movies. How's everyone doing here?
Doing all right.
Doing all
Yeah,
right.
doing good.
Recovering from the flu,
Recovering
but
from the flu, so yeah.
Yeah, all that web fluid is stuck in his nose and mouth. So
Yeah.
yeah.
true, true.
I've sneezed a couple of times over the weekend and it's looked like something out of a
Oh.
Spider-Man movie.
Uh,
So
This is what all our audience tunes in for. So, of course we're talking about Spider-Man as the new animated feature has come out, the sequel to the Spider-Verse movie. Pretty interesting, but we'll be talking about that elsewhere in the show. But yeah, why don't we start with Kyle? Who was your favorite Spider-Man actor and which movie?
yeah, I guess I'm a bit weird because I think my favorite Spider-Man actor would probably be Tom Holland because I don't know, like I really did like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I mean, if I was going to pick my favorite Spider-Man movie, it would be the original Sam Raimi film. But I really do think that Tom Holland is a better Spider-Man performer. I think that he really does blend both the Peter Parker performance that I liked um about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, but also the well, just kind of both parts. Like he does in the suit, he's great, and as Peter Parker, he's great. So I think that's probably my favorite. That's my favorite actor who actually has put on the suit. But yeah, it's funny. I think Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie is probably my favorite one, and it's hard to it's hard to reconcile those two conflicting opinions, I think.
It kind
Yeah.
of makes sense though, I think.
Yeah.
And that movie is always going to have kind of a special place in people's
Mm.
hearts. Like everyone does tend to talk about, oh yeah, Tobey Maguire's
Yeah,
Spider-Man
yeah.
movies, like, and they did kind of change the tone
Mm.
and the landscape for the Marvel and Spider-Man movies. So
Yeah, I think they really had like a big part on the whole idea of like if it wasn't for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, we wouldn't have the superhero renaissance that we went through, I guess.
and then the aftermath that we're going through.
Yeah, yeah, that too.
Uh-oh, controversial opinions. Write in
Yeah.
with your complaints too. Yeah. But yeah, okay, what about Lee? Who was your favorite Spider-Man actor and which of the movies have you enjoyed most?
so I really love Toby Maguire. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. Something about him, I love the way he interacts with his co-hosts in this, and especially having MJ in that. Um, yeah, I think all the Spider-Mans are amazing. So it's very hard to choose a favorite for me. You've got Toby Maguire working with Kirsten Dunst, and I think they do a really great job together. I think they have a good chemistry on the screen. But in saying that, I really do like, Andrew Garfield and also Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Very different. I think we watched them back to back all again recently, and I think what I noticed is what I liked about the original was yeah, the MJ storyline. Also, you've got the family that's really strong in the original as well. Um, yeah, I really like the story of Ben Parker as well, and unfortunately, it's a character that dies in that horrible way.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. If you haven't seen it now, you're not a true fan, so
what?
it's not a spoiler.
What? Uncle Ben dies?
um,
Never, that's never happened in Spider-Man before.
yeah. But what I guess I like about the Amazing Spider-Man is that they look more into the father that's the parents that are missing, and where did they go, and why is Spider-Man with his aunt and uncle. Well, yeah, I suppose I really actually like that storyline. So while Tobey Maguire is my favorite Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man series I really like because I like how they explore where are the parents, what has happened. There's a bit of a mystery there. There's a bit of detective work that could be done there and is being done. So I like that. Now, the newest Spider-Man with Tom Holland, of course I love that too, but it's very much based on the Avengers more. There's a lot more, Iron Man and some of his crew in it. And of course it leads into the even more depth of multiverse and all those things. And I really, really love the Avengers. So, but the thing is, I still go back to The Amazing Spider-Man as my favorite film because of the intrigue about the parents. And I just can't go past Tobey Maguire being the original Spider-Man. But how cool is it when they all come together?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, all that spectacle they kind of built around. Oh no, Andrew Garfield isn't coming back, and they even did that fake interview of him saying, "No, I'll never return,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
screw you,
Yeah.
yes.
Sony, and all
I'm so
that.
hurt that Marvel didn't let me be in this movie. It's like
Yeah,
he should have got an Academy Award for that interview.
for that, yeah.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. Yeah, I think Tobey Maguire's generally a popular choice. He kind of is the quintessential classic Spider-Man.
Yes,
It's what
classic.
he totally embodied who everyone thought Spider-Man was up to that point, and then we've kind of had a bit of an evolution of the character, and we've got Miles Morales as well as a different Spider-Man. So yeah, it's really interesting. But before I jabber on, why don't we see what Dave, if he hasn't got the web fluid in his mouth, Dave, who was your favorite Spider-Man and favorite movie?
Okay, so I'm going to be a little bit different to both Kyle and Lee. My favorite Spider-Man actor has actually been Andrew Garfield. Yes, I grew up with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans and I absolutely love them. Went back and watched them again recently, like Lee said. But to me, Andrew Garfield was always the Peter Parker that I imagined, like the brave and loyal, but slightly awkward Spider-Man, which I really, really liked. I thought that the difference between Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker and Spider-Man was so obvious in those films. He was awkward as Peter Parker, but then as soon as he put the suit on, he had this bit of bravado about him. Like he took to it a lot quicker than what Tobey Maguire did. I also do like Tom Holland in the role as well, but Andrew Garfield wins because I reckon he would have sided with Cap and not Iron Man when it came down to the big split. So,
I vote Iron Man.
so my favorite, yeah, but Andrew Garfield wouldn't be bought with flashy suits and riches. But my favorite Spider-Man movie is probably Spider-Man No Way Home. Because of the fact that it was a very close tie almost for me for Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield.
Actually, I'm kind of wondering about that scenario now. If it was Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, do you think maybe he would have said he was siding with Cap and then saying "screw you, Stark Industries, for not making me an offer," but then finding out that "screw you" was a fake publicity interview?
Yeah, I think I like No Way Home. I like that it has got my like favorite Spider-Mans in it kind of thing. And I thought it worked really well when they first talked about doing this Spider-Verse. I was kind of thinking, look, they're kind of just trying to cash in on what Sony has done with the Spider-Verse animation, but it really worked. And I think what really surprised me was I'm not a big fan of Doctor Strange. I haven't liked the character at all in most of the appearances that he's had, but I love him in No Way Home. Like his whole interactions with Peter Parker in that, like that whole scene where Peter Parker first shows up at Doctor Strange's house and they're having the discussion and everything. I just love it. It flows so well, and for once, you kind of get the feeling that you see Doctor Strange almost taking on the role that Tony Stark has left for Peter Parker, even though it comes across at times during their conversation that they don't like each other. You do get the feeling that Peter's gone there because Strange is now the Avenger that he looks up to, and likewise that Strange's reactions to what Peter Parker has done is more about the fact that he's mentoring this kid now. Like, this kid's got no one. There's a classic line in it where he says, I forget that you're only 14 because we've been through so much together. And I think, yeah, it's got so many touching moments in that. And just the end, every time I watch that ending, it still brings a tear to my eye. Like, imagine suddenly the world not knowing who you are, but not just the world, but those closest to you no longer have any idea who you are. I think, yeah, it just, yeah, brings a tear to my eye every time. And it just, I think Andrew Garfield is brilliant in that as well. So Andrew Garfield's the favorite Spider-Man, and Spider-Man No Way Home is my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I see what you say about Doctor Strange in that movie as well. That they kind of work as this perfect foil and balance for each other.
Yeah.
So I think that worked out pretty well.
I think I
Now I guess
noticed
I
it.
have to. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think I noticed it more this time because we went back and just watched the Spider-Man movies, not the Avenger movies in between. So it
Yeah.
went from Tony Stark being his mentor to Stephen Strange being his mentor.
Yeah, you kind of have that weird transition period as well. You got sort of Happy being there
Yes.
all the
Yeah.
time is
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
like
He's a
the
good
the
character.
continuity, but then yeah, it takes a bit of a switch there in that last movie, and we had a period for a while of like, oh, will there be another Spider-Man movie linked to the MCU, because there was a bit of a
Mm.
falling out between the production companies, and then no, maybe it's all right. And but it kind of did lead to some weird things, didn't it? Because you have the Venom
Yeah.
movies and Morbius as well, which is all in the Spider-Man universe, but hasn't been connected to Spider-Man, who is now in the MCU. But then they brought them in when there was the whole kind of universes crossing over thing, and then they immediately sent them back out with no payoff. Like, what happened?
Is that partly because of Tom Holland's contract though? Because I heard another podcast talking about it today and talking about the new Spider-Verse film, and apparently the reason that Tom Holland doesn't appear in that in any form is because that would count as one film towards his contract of how many films he plays Spider-Man in.
Very
Yeah,
possible.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they did have Donald Glover appear as his character from the Tom Holland movie, so that was
Yeah.
cute. Like,
And
I liked that
Toby
little
and
shout
Toby
out.
Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in there in a little bit as well. But yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
apparently the reason that Tom Holland is not is because that would count towards his count of
Yeah.
how many Sony signed him up to play Spider-Man for. So
Keep him on the back burner.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if they just used a CG created shot of him from one of the movies, wouldn't that be fine? Like, it's just like technically he wasn't there.
True.
I'm not sure. There's so much stuff going around those contracts because the other rumor is that Andrew Garfield didn't get paid for No Way Home because he'd already been tied into a 3-movie contract to play Spider-Man.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, that's
We paid you 10 years ago.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's not going to be any inflation on things. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Screw it.
Yeah.
But we'll pay you to do a fake interview. There's your that's how you make your money off this movie.
Yeah.
It probably was how it worked.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So-
I remember hearing a rumor that they were gonna have a Miles Morales appear in the Tom Holland movies. Like, maybe it was meant to be in the last one. Thing is, there was a multiverse, but yeah, I don't know if that was just like a rumor thing, or
It
was
probably
based on
will
anything.
happen. Shamik Moore's
Yeah.
probably cheaper than Tom Holland to get into a film. So yeah.
Yeah, well, if these movies keep doing well, then he might not be. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I suppose I better make my excuses for what I like, which is actually interesting because I've been all the time very much Andrew Garfield. I just love him as a performer. There's a lot more sort of heavy emotion and depth to his performance, which I
Mm.
absolutely love in his movies. And I agree with Lee in his movies, the background of the parents who are normally just non-entities in a lot of the Spider-Man movies because they were sort of traditionally never there until retcon of the narrative a bit later
Mm.
on in the comics. But it was really interesting having a look at that and setting it up for a series of movies. But it was heartbreaking that it never went on to a third movie.
I
So I was like,
agree. I was
Yeah.
I was so
disappointed.
upset about that. That was just like, oh, come on. I was loving the Spider-Man. I was loving the secrets building up and where it was going to pay off. But
Well,
no, of
apparently,
course
apparently
not.
the third film, apparently the third
Mm.
film was supposed to be where Venom and Spider-Man kind of became one. Like it was going to be fueled on the anger that Peter Parker was feeling after losing Gwen Stacy. So it was going to be like
Well,
a
Mm.
vengeful.
I heard as well it was supposed to be like the Sinister Six, and they were basically going to do a Sinister Six movie, and Spider-Man was going to be a bit more of a bit part character, which
Yeah.
I think
They
caused
seemed
some of the
really
falling out. And
keen
yeah,
on setting up like spin-offs and everything. So yeah, I can definitely see like them doing like a Sinister Six movie
Yeah.
to the
yeah,
side,
but I
like
think that was
besides
supposed to
the
count as like Spider-Man 3 as well.
mm,
So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand as a performer, you'll be like, what's my role in this? And am I the star or am I just like
yeah.
something in the background, you know?
Mm.
But yeah, so that's always been a heartbreaking thing on my part. But I have to I say I can see why you'd love any of these actors.
Yeah.
As I said before, Tobey Maguire was the quintessential Spider-Man of what we expected leading up to like the year 2000. From his inception to year 2000, that's the Spider-Man we've always known. And then when they did a reboot, which was kind of annoying, all of a sudden you've got Andrew Garfield, and it really updated the narrative a bit, I feel,
Mm.
Yep.
and updated the character. And his performance is always going to stand out. He's a fantastic actor, so that's why I've kind of picked him as my favorite all along. But then I was slow to get on to the Tom Holland movies just because I was holding a grudge that they didn't finish my trilogy.
That's it.
Oh,
But they've actually look, I think Tom Holland is actually great.
Mm.
He's a bit closer to that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in some senses, but he's actually someone who can actually do the physical actions of Spider-Man. Like he was already a parkour and active
mm,
kind of person. So
Yep.
that the work he does is really him doing it. He doesn't need a lot of stunt people a lot of the time. So
mm,
that's really impressive, I have to say, for a performer to be doing that. And he does seem like a lot of fun. I think they put a lot more fun into it with him.
mm.
But then, no one's talked about Shameik Moore. I mean, we've got this animated Miles Morales now. Actually, we've got about 500 we could talk about in the
Mm.
Spider-Verse movies.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I actually really enjoy the Miles Morales character, and I
Mm.
think
Yeah.
he's been bringing it to life pretty well, even though, it's an animated feature. I don't think the performance is pulled back in any way. I've been really enjoying Shameik Moore's performance of Miles
Mm.
Morales. I don't know. What does everyone else think?
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree. Yeah.
it's interesting, but I know that they seem to be planning on doing an actual live action Miles Morales as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
I thought so
yeah,
too. Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see not just which Spider-Man is the best, Peter Parker or Miles Morales, but which version of which version of Miles Morales is the best
Mm.
as well. So
Well,
it'll
if
be
we take a
interesting to
deep
see.
dive, I mean, we've got all these other Spider-Mans we could do as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
Spider-Punk.
latest movie, we
Yeah.
have,
yeah.
yeah, Spider-Man. The latest movie shows Spider-Man 2099, which is,
Yeah.
I remember reading those comics back in 99.
Mm.
And the, that was a really cool kind of version of the character, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure I like him in the Spider-Verse movies, but that would have been something I'd like to see brought to life in a kind of live action way. I think that'd be really interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
But
safe to say
yeah,
that the casting of all these Spider-Mans has been brilliant because while we're all trying to choose a favorite, it's almost like a forced favorite because we love all of them. And
Yeah.
the way
yeah,
each movie has been portrayed, I mean, there's stuff that we love about each movie. There's stuff like that you might be disappointed in each movie, might because it didn't go on. Or, for
yep.
example, um in the later series with Tom Holland, you don't have the character of Uncle Ben, and I think that's a real shame myself. But each movie has something special about it, and it is actually very, very hard to choose which one's
Yeah.
best because you love the originals for a reason, you love the newer ones for a reason, and for the newness that's been brought to them. But each
Yeah,
actor, I
and the
have to
change
say,
of
well done to each actor.
narrative. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
absolutely.
Did you have a favorite film there, Harley?
Yeah, I kind of sidestepped that, didn't I? Well, I'm gonna say, see, for series, I love the Amazing Spider-Man
Mm.
series until it didn't finish.
Until it stopped.
And but the Enter the Spider-Verse, the first movie, I think that really stands out for me because it was so fresh, so different, and as someone who's really into art and the visual stylings, that just had such an amazing standout concept
Mm.
and just look to me. I'm gonna pick that one.
I think it's funny. I think all of us, all our favorite Spider-Man actor doesn't line up with our favorite movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Four of us.
Like,
Yeah.
but that's interesting though, because I don't think I would want to say, oh, put Andrew Garfield Spider-Man as the star of the Enter the Spider-Verse
Mm.
series. Like, I don't think that would have the same
Yeah.
kind of
No, I wouldn't look
storytelling
at that
to it
way.
at all.
Technically, my favorite Spider-Man is in my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. But I did like how they did that as well. That was one of the few things that didn't tick me off in the latest Marvel offerings. But yeah, I think we've pretty much captured it.
Hmm.
Maybe if anyone out there wants some to give some feedback on their favorite spider persons, I'll say spider persons because we've had if we go into the animated realm, we've got Spider Gwen and
Yes.
many other Spider Women, to be honest. So yeah, give us some feedback. Hit us up on our socials, Subculture Entertainment on Twitter and Facebook and Discord, or Subculture Dave on Instagram. And yeah, let us know your thoughts and what we've discussed here. But having said that, we'll be back right after this.